the Gaily Planet, the final Fronqueer. These are the voyages of Lark and Jesse, our continuing mission to provide you with humorous yet ruthless analysis, to seek out queer takes and explore every gay subtext, to boldly pod what no one has cast before. Hello, and welcome to the Gaily Planet, the final Fronqueer, a podcast where two queer nerds talk about Star Trek The Next Generation. I am Lark Malachi Gray.
And I am Jesse Blount, and today we are talking about episode 6 of season 3, The Booby Trap.
We are. Before we get into it, hey, please join our Patreon. And if you did join our Patreon during our Pride/Gay Wrath Month pledge drive, thank you. We're still trying really hard to make enough money that I can get help with editing stuff before I burn out, which is precipitously close to happening. So patreon.com/#ruthless. Thank you.
Yeah. You can also go to our website for other ways you can support us financially. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And most importantly, tell all your friends, neighbors, classmates, whoever you interact with, about how cool we are.
Please do that. Thank you so much. We have cool merch. We have a Throne wish list. I recently put some new stuff on the Throne wish list, so you could go check that out. And yeah, that's good. All right. So now I'm going to describe this episode. Okay. What a doozy. We're going to have so much to say. Some big red alert siren energy for this episode, especially for our particular complimentary anxieties. Anyway, so in this episode, we have sort of two plots. We have the Geordi emotional plot, and then we have the AI plot. The Geordi emotional plot is like he's on a date on the holodeck with someone who like maybe didn't know it was supposed to be a date, and it's very awkward. And then he's like, Guinan, what am I doing wrong? And she's like, you're not being yourself. And then he ends up in the process of trying to solve the other plot of the episode, being himself with a holodeck recreation of the woman who designed the Enterprise. And that goes really well for him. So hopefully he learned a lesson, ? And then the other plot is that they've come across a distress signal from a 1,000-year-old ship that is like the last intact remnant from a massive interstellar war where two planets, I think, wiped each other out.
Yeah.
And Picard is stoked as fuck because space archaeology mystery.
He's never been more excited, and he's like, 1,000-year-old ship intact. We have to go over there.
Yeah. And so obviously they do. And then it turns out that ship, everyone died because it had been pulled into a booby trap. And that booby trap 1,000 years later is still active. And they have to figure out how to get out of it. That's what Geordi's doing in the holodeck with the recreation of Leah Brahms. And there's a whole conversation about like, can computers do what humans can do? And because a computer is faster, does that mean that it's safe to turn over command of your ship to a computer? And they're like, we actually don't think that we want to do that if there's an option where humans do it instead, which is what they go with. And Picard, using human ingenuity that a computer could not recreate, saves the day. And all the tech bros who love Star Trek must have skipped this episode. The end.
Yeah. This is the captain speaking. Coming to a holodeck near you, pounded in the butt by the physical manifestation of the Enterprise ship computer.
Oh my God. Oh my God. For all of our listeners who don't know who Chuck Tingle is.
What are you doing? Stop this
recording.
That
is so funny.
Stop this video. Go read like 3 Chuck Tingle books and then come back. If you have no idea who Chuck Tingle is.
Go specifically Tinglers. You can read his horror novels too, but they will not help you with the mystery of what Jesse just said. Okay, so now we're going to get started with The Bridge, where we talk about everything that doesn't go anywhere else. What do you have first?
I just want to go on record. Okay, so a lot of this episode is going to be me really identifying with Geordi. And I just want to say that being on a beach drinking something out of a coconut is like so ideal. I'm like, even if you're not into the dude you're with, I'm like, you're not having a good time. This looks great to me.
I know. I just kept being like, was there like crossed wires about what kind of hangout they were doing? Because maybe she's that awkward because like she thought they were going to hang out as friends, like maybe go surfing or just like chill at the beach, and here's Jordy like sidling up and whatever, and she's like, this is actually not what I thought I was agreeing to, which like regardless of the setting, I think you're gonna be like, because like,
if I had to guess, my answer would be yes.
Yeah,
because part of Jordy's awkwardness is I don't think he communicated that enough, that this was a date, even though he's like, this is a date. I don't think there was enough communication for him to be like, this is a date.
Right. Yeah. Sort of speaking of, I actually don't have very much here this week, but one of the two things that I do have is the moment when Jordy gets to 10 forward after the date sort of turns out to have not been a date. Wasn't Data's reaction is so touching. And they're both just like, you know, Wesley, what a good kid. He just is like, oh shit, Data, like,
I know,
Jordy's
like
back already.
The emotional maturity and empathy. I'm like, they could never make me hate you, Wes. I don't know why people do. I think people who hate Wes, I'm like, have you been watching the same show? He's just such a good egg. I'm like,
he is.
And yeah, just him being like, oh no, it's like, yeah, oh no.
Yeah. And then once Data understands why he says that, he's like, oh no. Like they both are just, and it's very sad because they get called to the bridge before they can go over and like, you know, help Jordy with his feelings. But that's probably good because they would not have been helpful in the way that Guinan is. So
that's true.
I'm glad that she was the one to intercede.
Oh my God. Speaking of Guinan, I don't know what about the way that she says this, but when Guinan is like, yes, I can tell you I'm a woman, I'm like, something is really queer about that. Like that is such a sort of not like vague-ish answer, but a sort of, it's like, I know maybe she's making fun of him, but I'm all but like, interesting. a little flag. Just like,
no, I mean, I think that that's fair, especially because like her species, I don't know, I'm just thinking about the like meme, the Q meme that I made for the zine, where it's like a tweet that someone made where they're, I don't know, tweet, whatever, text post, being like, I'm going to decide everyone's gender and pronouns tonight and there will be some surprises. Like her species could go up against the Q. And I'm like, what the fuck is gender to an interdimensional species like that? Like she's thousands of years old. Like what the fuck is gender to Guinan? Nothing. Like,
okay, this actually reminds me of a different trans meme I saw, which is like, the image is like Aristotle or something like that, and it's like trans people talking about gender to trans people, and the next image is like someone at a desk with a child and like crayons, and it's like trans people explaining gender to cis people. And I think that I think you're right. It's like Guinan probably is like, my gender I cannot even literally describe to you, but this is just gonna be easier for me to explain this to you.
Yeah, totally. There are probably 50, you know, recognized genders on Guinan's home planet, you know? But she's like, yeah, that options available to humans, you know, which hopefully is more than 2 by the time we're in the Star Trek future. But she's like, yeah, that's the one. That's the
it's very close
part
enough.
of the Venn diagram I fit into now. Like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, my only other thing here is that I was simply outraged that Data acted like he didn't know what a ship in the bottle was, as if he and Jordy did not have a whole date that began with Jordy sharing the ship in a bottle he had built with Data. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Data knows what this is.
If I had to guess, the fact that Picard is like, didn't you guys do this as kids? And Worf is like, no. And Data's like, I was not a child. And Riker was literally like, I was a cool kid and not a nerd inside building a ship in a bottle, which is why O'Brien is like, oh, I did. And I'm like, you guys have like 3-dimensional video games? Who the fuck is building a ship in the bottle? I have my family on Sunday, and my sister was describing to my nephews what a magic eye picture was. And I feel like describing that was a thing we did for fun to someone who has had access to a smartphone and a tablet and like presumably every gaming system probably sounds like it's like, oh, so you had a stick and a wheel and you were rolling it down the street for fun, right?
They're still fun, for the record.
No.
I do them on my phone.
I think they are still fun. I just feel like if you're Gen Alpha, or young Gen Z, you're like, fun? What is fun about this, you know? And I feel like this is what Picard being like, ship in a bottle, you know, you do it as kids. And everyone's like, what?
I guess. But I don't know. I don't think that like technology makes the kind of things that you can like do with your hands less fun, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I feel like model building is just fun. And maybe in the future you build your model, and when you like put the final piece in, it like moves or like becomes a working, you know, recreation or whatever. But, you know, that kind of, especially when it's like really little, I feel like there's just something very satisfying about doing that I don't think any level of technology would make untrue.
Yeah, Picard's just that kind of nerd, I think.
Yeah,
which
totally
makes me laugh.
But also, I don't know, he also was like a cool kid, but maybe you can have both, you know?
Yeah, he was a cool kid who was doing deeply nerdy shit in his room and maybe not telling people how. Maybe he only had a select few people. He was like, look at my model 18th century pirate ship in a bottle, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And we only have one more thing here.
Okay.
And then at the end of the episode, we have Picard playing just the most high stakes video game ever. Like he's like directing the ship manually, slowly, sort of having to essentially manually adjust the thrusters on the inside of the ship to make sure it goes in the correct direction. Which I'm like, if this was a video game I was playing, I would have died. I would have crashed immediately. And I'm like, yeah, this seems very nerve-wracking. This is why you're the captain, my dude, because... And then make it through, obviously.
Yep, obviously. Wouldn't that be the wildest way to end the series?
I feel like if shows had... I feel like if shows wanted to really do a wild thing, they would just have their final episode be a really random situation like this, and then they don't make it. And it'd be like,
yeah,
that's the end.
Really would be a good way to like keep people talking for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the Enterprise turned out to be one of those ships, like the countless ships they encountered over the 7-year run of the show where they didn't make it.
Honestly, this would be a good way. I feel like there are some shows where it's like, we want to try to keep it going a la Law and Order, but it's like people get attached to the characters. And I'm like, if you had a Star Trek show that you wanted to keep on for like 18 seasons, you could have the original crew die in like midway through and then maybe have someone else like be like, well, we're the new flagship now. We're not trying to, and we're trying to learn from their mistakes, but also like maybe there's a mystery. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Or they could have just kept the cartoon on because that could have stayed on for 30 years like The Simpsons or South Park. But
yeah, it's like rich people don't know what we want is more 10 more seasons in a movie of Lower Decks.
Yep. Anyway, okay. Welcome to 10 Forward, where we talk about characters.
Do you want to start with Geordi or do you want to start with Picard?
Weirdly, I want to start with Guinan.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, because I feel like, what are words even? I feel like if we talk about Geordi first, we'll end up talking about Guinan without the like spotlight on what she does in this episode that her performance here deserves. And so I want to talk about her first. That's
Okay.
what I'm trying to say.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so listeners, Geordi has just like bombed this hangout with Christy.
I didn't even catch her name, honestly.
I think it was Christy. Anyway, with this coworker, that he thought was a date and she didn't. And so it was very awkward, even though he put all of this like care and attention into planning it. It would have been very sweet had they been on the same page, but they weren't. So now he's in 10 forward. He's really sad. He's, turning to Guinan for advice, as everyone does. And she's trolling the shit out of him at first, which is so funny.
She really is.
In a way that it seems like she's making sure to be heavy-handed enough that he'll notice, which I thought was very thoughtful of her, But so he's like, as a woman, like, what do you look for in a man? Like, what's the first thing you look at? And she's like, his head. Which is such a great response.
And the fact that he's like, oh, you mean like his mind? And she's like, no, his head. I like bald dudes. Which, if that isn't a like Guinan and Picard definitely fucked at some point, then like I don't know what that is. But
I think it has to be, because she says I'm attracted to bald men because a bald man took care of me once when I was hurting. And if I remember correctly, I like can never remember when she met him for the first time, because they have a bit of a like Doctor and River Song time traveler's wife relationship. They don't meet each other at the same time. But I feel like the first time Guinan meets Picard, she is like maybe like stranded in time, I think, or something like that. So I'm like, I think this makes sense for their, it feels like foreshadowing for like their wibbly wobbly timey wimey relationship, I guess.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. And I thought she did also an excellent job with sort of, like kind of letting him know very deliberately that she was a little bit trolling him, but like in a loving way, Yeah,
and she leads him to the conclusion that he needs to like arrive at without actually just telling him, which I think is one of Guinan's strongest ways that she does her sort of bartender advice giving. Part of what makes her a better therapist than Troy is that she doesn't just say like, you're not being yourself, you're trying too hard. She's like, well, you're doing a good job with me. And he's like, yeah, but I'm not trying. And she's like, right, nailed it.
Yeah, it is really good advice if you're an awkward nerd, as someone who used to read like dating advice on the internet, actually specifically aimed at like nerdy dudes who are deeply awkward, which was super helpful for me as an awkward young person. And I'm like, Guinan, you're doing a good job. That is exactly what Geordi needed to hear.
Yeah. I genuinely can't imagine like trying to date someone that I didn't know. Like, I've only ever been in relationships with people that I was like very, very good friends with before we decided to be in a romantic relationship. And like the thought of just being like, okay, person that I like don't know very well, let's see how we feel about dating. I'm like, oh my God, what a terribly stressful situation to be in.
This is funny. I feel like I usually had the opposite, where it was much easier to me for me to like, I don't know, go on back when online dating wasn't like Tinder and just be like, do you want to go out on like a date, versus someone that I knew where I'm just like, well, we're already friends, but I want to change the vibe, but I like don't know how to. And I also don't want, I also have a deep seated fear of rejection. So it was just like a bit of a mess, which is why, again, I really overemphasize with Geordi in this episode. So yeah, I don't know. Getting better at communicating is really the key here and in general with dating.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of empathizing with Geordi, shall we empathize with Geordi?
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
I feel like I won't say it's funny, but we obviously have a lot of autistic nerds on the Starship Enterprise. And it's just a little bit funny that Geordi is sort of the kind of most awkward nerd archetype of all of the autistic nerds that we have on here. Cause like, yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I think if I had to guess, he didn't communicate to whoever that was that this is clearly a date that I'm putting a lot of effort into, as opposed to be like, we'll just hang out and it's somehow now romantic. And that's why she was just like, oh, dude, I don't know about this,
Right.
And it's just so interesting then to see him sort of, see where he's connecting, which is with the computer partly, and partly with this sort of AI generated sort of Dr. Oh my God, I did have her name written down.
Not AI generated.
Dr. Leah. Not quite AI generated, but he's like pulling sources and citations to sort of make her holodeck, like whatever you want to call it, more fleshed out to be a person.
Right.
Which does remind me of like what people do to make like AI companion chat boxes.
Right. I feel like I just want to can we use AI to talk about data and LLM to talk about the computer? Because I feel like it's going to get very confusing if we're using like modern AI to talk about what Leah is, whereas what she is an LLM, right?
Yeah. All right. Let me go back. So I guess it is interesting and maybe not totally unsurprising that where we see Geordi sort of thrive and make a connection is with essentially an LLM of a person who shares his really intense hyperfixation, which is the Enterprise ship engine and like the engineering stuff. Also unsurprising that Geordi's type is like autistic super nerds. Like, this is why him and Data work so well.
I know, totally.
It's like, oh, you have a very specific type. And I don't know if you maybe realize that that is your specific type, which is people who can keep up with it when you're talking about whatever the fuck technobabble they were talking about with the engine and the ship. And like...
I literally was like, Geordi needs someone who can match his nerd. Like, that's, and then also parenthetical like Data, because totally, this is exactly, and I think we talked about this with Robin in our like sexuality and Star Trek episode last year, is that where we were like, Geordi's like a sapiosexual, like he's attracted to people's minds, like he assumes with Guinan. And yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense that like an engineer who is as nerdy about the Enterprise as he is exactly who he's going to be into. That's why he's into Data. And it also makes sense that if this were the real Leah Brahms, I think that someone who's as enthusiastic about like this project that she's poured her entire self into would be someone that she was really drawn to, whether that was romantically or not. Like someone who can meet her on her level to talk about the ins and outs of this ship is going to be someone that she's like really stoked to talk to.
Yeah. Though I think that if he does meet her, I'm expecting her honestly to be dead or married, to be perfectly honest. If he does,
she's married.
Okay. Yeah.
I think she should have been gay. Personally, I was shocked because like 9% margin for error, right? I was just like, she's like, Geordi, I can't believe you didn't know and then she says married. And I was like, I mean, I guess it could still be a woman, but it's very much implied that it's not. And I was just like, gay would have been so much better, you fucking cowards. Anyway.
I know. But I also think a little bit of it is I think that, especially towards the end.
Wait, sorry. But I do think it's relevant that this simulation of her is out of date, right?
Yeah.
So she might not have been married when the things that it's pulling from were available for the input here.
I also kind of think that given what we get at the end where she's sort of flirtatious being like, oh, I'll always be here because you'll be inside the ship, which I'm like, is this a little bit not Leah and a little bit more the actual ship's computer? Are they flirting? And that's why I'm kind of like, is he just kind of into the Enterprise ship? It's like
interesting.
I mean, sort of hence my pound in the butt intro, because like that part at the end where I'm like, is this the like conglomeration of Dr. Leah, or is this a little bit the Enterprise flirting with him? I don't know. I was a little bit
the Enterprise isn't capable of flirting because it's an LLM. I would guess that what it is the holodeck programming getting mixed up in the simulation. So like, because the holodeck is programmed to react to the real people that are in the holodeck, and sort of in the way that modern LLMs will yes men people into terrible situations. But like when it's a holodeck program and everyone's like, we're on the same page, this is make believe, you know?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily as much of a problem. So that's my guess, is that the holodeck programming is bleeding through and sort of reacting to what Geordi is putting out there, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
I think my only other Geordi thing is that I just was so delighted when he first gets into, I don't know if we've explained for folks who didn't just watch this. So the reason Geordi's in the holodeck with Leah Brahms is because he's trying to find a way to like get out of this trap where these machines like hidden in the asteroids are like sapping the energy from the ship to create radiation to kill the people on the ship. It's a war thing. So he has gone basically back to the beginning of the Enterprise to try and find workarounds in sort of like the raw engine schematics that he might be able to adjust to get them out of this situation. So that's what he's doing in there. And they've got like 2 hours before everyone dies, and he gets into the holodeck, and I swear to God, he spends like 5 minutes just being an absolute goddamn nerd, just being like, look at it. Oh my God, this is where they designed the Enterprise. Just like,
I know,
full fucking fanboy. And I'm like, focus, my guy. Like, you have to save 2,000 people.
It's like, you can learn about this after the ship has been saved, and you're not wasting life support energy on the holodeck, you know?
He absolutely could not. It was not a choice that he was making.
I gotta say, though, that this sort of started off with him like having a very quick sort of parasocial relationship with just the voice. A voice of Dr. Leah is also very funny to me. Obviously, I am not immune to this as a lover of podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, Geordi.
Yeah.
You would have listened to so many nerdy tech engineering podcasts that you would be deeply obsessed with.
Yeah, totally.
And be like my friend who has a podcast that I don't actually know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yup. Yeah, so speaking of that, I feel like he is giving the same kind of nerdery in that moment that Picard gives the second they come across the ship. I was just like, the two things that Riker cannot get, like, Riker was hired because he would not let his previous captain go on an away mission because the captain's job is to be on the ship. And Picard was like, I like that about you. That's why you get to be my first officer. But there are two things that Riker cannot keep Picard on the fucking ship for, and they are mysteries and archaeology. And this is a space archaeology mystery, and there was nothing save strapping him to his seat that was going to keep Picard off that fucking ship.
I know, I literally did have, I'm like, when Riker is your voice of reason, which isn't happen, and like, obviously, right, Riker is super competent at what he does, and like, yes, does make good judgment calls, even if it's not totally within the hierarchy / chain of command. And he was clearly just like, I don't know about this, but yeah, there was no way he was going to keep Picard on this ship. And it's just like, all right, I guess.
Yeah. He's like, he's like, there could be all sorts of fucking stuff over there, man. Don't go over there. And Picard's like what? LOL, ghosts? And Riker's kind of like, yeah, maybe. Like, remember the Yamato? Like, this has happened before. And I feel like he also recognizes that Picard would be elated to meet a ghost on this ship. And so, like, that's also not gonna work. He's like, okay, fuck, go, I guess. Yeah. Like, I guess if you die, I get to be captain. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like Picard's level of excitement being on this like ancient ship, which, I mean, again, 1,000-year-old spaceship, pretty cool. I'd be pretty excited to look at all that stuff too. But Picard is just like, he's like almost giddy.
Oh, yeah.
Which we don't normally see from normally very stoic Jean-Luc Picard.
Right.
I'm just like, oh yeah.
And when he comes back, he's like so happy, and Troy and Riker are both just like exchanging these looks, just, oh, they're so happy for him. And they're like, they tell him, which is also so nice. They're like, we never get to see you like this. And it's actually just really nice to see you like this, Captain.
Yeah.
So happy you're happy.
Yeah. Again, for like a high stress job, I'm like, yeah, you need this moment, which then of course turns into an even higher stress situation, which is very much like a you can't win kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then having to like blow up the ship in the end, I'm sure was also just like crushing.
Yeah. But I don't know. He gets to be the last one who saw it, and he wrote an article for the Starfleet magazine about the experience. So
whatever this space archaeology journal is, he was just like, yes.
Yeah.
I also just really want to point out that I love like old man Picard moments, even though he's like not supposed to be that old. But he like asked Worf to like take a bunch of photos, and I'm like, do you not know how the camera function on your tricorder works? Because that is very much like, how do I take a photo on my phone?
That's so funny.
And I just kept being like, you should be taking a million photos. I don't think you know how to take a photo on your tricorder.
Oh. Okay, are you done here?
I am done here.
All right. Welcome to the holodeck, where we talk about aesthetics, and there is an image roundup for every episode, thanks to our tedious taskmaster, Elise.
Woo.
So if you want to look at what we're talking about, click the link in the show notes, or go to #ruthless.com/thegaylyplanet, or if you're listening on Patreon, simply open the email you got when this episode is announced. The pictures are in there.
We have to start off with Geordi's date outfit being the exact same color scheme as his uniform, which also feels somehow very autistic nerd.
Yeah, he's like, this is what I feel comfortable in. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, more of a like, it's like more of like a casual tunic. It like has a deeper V that's like a little bit open, but is in the exact same color of mustard as his uniform.
Yeah. It's cute though, I gotta say. So he's wearing, I think tunic is the right word. I wouldn't have reached for that word, but it's totally accurate. Right. Mustard, yellow, sort of very loose sleeves, loose in the torso, with some piping almost. And then he's wearing green capris. They come below the knee, and they're like a little stripey. And there's like a green, there's a matching green something on the sleeve that I can't totally identify in this picture. What is it? It's like just a poof of green fabric. Oh no, it's open. I found a better picture. So the sleeve is shaped, it has this I don't have the right fingers to do this. Like, what is this?
A triangle?
Like a trapezoidal cutout. Like on the bicep, and then it's hemmed with green fabric that's the same as his pants, and then the same green goes around the bottom of the sleeve. It's very cute. It's very cute. It's a very cute outfit.
I'm not gonna lie, this is something that I would buy on a website that sells gender neutral clothing.
Yeah, totally.
So like, yeah, I think I missed a lot of that. I'm watching my not remastered DVDs on my incredibly high def television, and I'm like, oh, this does not look good. It's a little bit like, I might have to go to watching it on Paramount.
Yeah, we got to get you some higher quality DVDs, I think.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so Guinan always looks amazing. She looks fucking phenomenal in this episode.
Yeah, her like sort of burgundy / oxblood colored outfit that's like very drapey. And again, I couldn't totally tell the texture because of my television and my DVDs. But like,
I think it's
velvet.
I think it's velvet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct.
Yeah. So I have the picture pulled up. So it's right. It's like a Drusilla red. What is that? Burgundy. A deep blood red.
Yeah, I think oxblood might be the color, which I just love as a word. Surprise as a goth. But yeah, like a sort of like really dark red.
Yeah. And it, again, has a lot of piping. Whoever was the costume designer in this one was into piping. So it has piping in this like gold. I feel like I had tights that I wore for like a lot of things when I lived in New Orleans that were this material. It's like a thick, sort of crunchy black and gold fabric. And that's like the base of her hat, and then also the piping in her dress. So it like goes across and then it all gathers in the middle, and then it turns into like pleating that runs down the front. And then she has like a very, very dark lip in this episode too. And like, she is glowing. I don't know. I was just like, you are perhaps the singular most beautiful person I have ever looked at, like specifically right now.
Yeah.
They just really nailed it, whatever they were doing with her in this episode.
Yeah, I'm like, whoever was doing her costuming probably was like, I am thrilled to not have to make another Starfleet uniform.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, holy shit, sorry, I just like pulled up another image. Like her makeup is just like so good. She looks like she's being illuminated from within. They really nailed it. So yeah.
As usual, looking great.
Yeah.
I have to give a little bit of a shout out to Dr. Leah's outfit, which is number one, so 80s.
It is so weird.
So listeners, she's wearing like a teal tunic that it's sort of like V's in the middle, but on like one side it's like a different material. Like it goes kind of like
it does not V in the middle. The different material goes from her neck on one side to under her armpit on the other.
Okay. So yeah, two different textures, still teal. Oh, yes. Like over a white turtleneck.
Yes. And her shoulders
are
she is ready to play football. It's just the biggest, squarest shoulders.
Yeah, they have some really intense shoulder pads. She's a very sculptured silhouette that is just so 80s power lady in a way that I like really appreciate.
It looks so hot.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like whatever that top material is, I'm like
over a turtleneck that looks like it's cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. They must have been blotting her every 10 minutes.
Totally. I think about that all the time. I'm like, I don't think I couldn't like do TV acting because I am so bad at being too hot because my clothes are causing the problem. Like it makes me like freak out. I'm just like, how do people do this? I would just be like, I'm out. I gotta go. I can't. This is not happening. Anyway. Yeah, and she has her hair is like 80s via like 1940, I feel like. It's like an 80s interpretation of a 40s hairstyle, I think.
Yeah, because it's not like a tight bun, so it's like a lot of hair like around like kind of her crown.
Like
very
swoops.
Yeah. And like it pulled back, not like a top knot, but kind of pulled back where you don't really see it unless you don't see the part of the top knot of the bun until she's like, you're looking behind her or like even a little bit sideways. So head on, yeah, it's just very like swoopy and poofy, but then from the side and the back, it's like bun.
Interesting. Is it?
I thought it was a bun.
I think it's just sort of like gathered. Yeah, it's like gathered in like a fishtail. All I can say is that there are 50 bobby pins in that woman's hair right now. That's the kind of hairstyle it is. So if you are a person who has ever had a hairstyle with 50 bobby pins, then you can basically guess what her hair looks like. The brief moments in my life when I had long hair, like the end of the day when I was deconstructing my hairstyle, I'd just like still be fine. Like, I think I've got them all. And then you run your hands through and you're like, nope, there's another fucking bobby pin. So
yeah, I think I've only ever put bobby pins in my hair if I was putting on a wig for a party.
Fair.
Or doing some other kind of costume-y thing. Yeah.
Okay. And can I just say, both her and Troy in this episode, the fucking thing, what is it with the costume designers where someone's shoes have to be the exact same color as everything else that they're wearing? It is so weird. It's very strange. I don't understand it. But yes, her shoes are the exact same teal color as everything else that she has on, as our Troy is the same turquoise color. So
yeah, maybe it's a like easy continuity thing. I have no idea. Everyone wears ballet flats in the future.
No, they're not. They don't disappear. Like, they're wearing boots
Oh.
with like heels. I think Troy's are like slouchy and they are the same turquoise color as her dress. It's strange. It's very strange. It wouldn't be strange if her dress was shorter. I know this is not relevant, but like if there was a separation between the colors, it would be like a look. It would be very cute. But because her dress ends at ankle length, it just makes it look like she's wearing like she went into a spray booth and everything got painted turquoise. You know, it doesn't look like an intentional thing that you're doing.
Especially if you're wearing a slouchy boot, you want to show off the slouchy boot. And like, yeah,
exactly.
Who no one is wearing their clothing like that unless you're really trying to do modesty with a capital M.
Yeah. Anyway. Welcome to the Observation Lounge, where we talk about things that are fucked up. We're going to talk about AI. If you get stressed out about AI, like we both get stressed out about AI, look in the show notes. Skip this section. You know everything that we're going to say, probably, if you spend a lot of time thinking about this. And you don't have to get stressed out, you know? You can just skip to the next segment, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We won't hold it against you.
It'll be you can just skip right ahead in the video. So
yep. Okay, so go ahead, you start.
Yet another AI is not the answer kind of episode. Also a touch grass episode where even we have Geordi, who, as we've already discussed, a giant nerd who loves computers, parentheses, sexually, is like, actually, there's a time to not have a computer do a thing. And this is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I realized that I said AI when I was like, please, can we say LLM? So I'm going to specify. We're going to talk about LLMs. We're going to talk about 2026 quote unquote AI, because this episode makes it very clear that there is a meaningful difference between data and the ship's computer.
Yes.
And they are not in any way interchangeable pieces of technology. Data is a person. The computer is an LLM. They are not the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please continue your thought. I feel like I just interrupted you.
No.
Say that.
I think part of the strength of this episode is that we get essentially the strengths and weaknesses of an LLM. Like, we have Geordi spend a lot of time in this episode sort of bouncing ideas off of this holographic projection of Dr. Leah, a real person who worked on the Enterprise. And we see this being incredibly useful, both for this incredibly high stress situation that he's in and like his problem solving that he's doing, but also a little bit for his confidence, which it's kind of its own thing. But he even recognizes that there's a limit to what the computer, which again is an incredibly powerful, complex piece of technology, more complicated and complex than anything that we have, that, as we see, Starfleet relies on very heavily. But he's like, for this instance where it's sort of like you can't really calculate with math how this is going to go, because this is a situation where you just sort of need human intuition and like response and sort of the like drive to be like, I'm going to die. The fear of death, also a good motivator for many things when you're, a person. And it is just really what a good lesson to be just like, even this powerful, incredible technology that we have is not always the answer, and that people are actually usually the best way to get out of super complex situations.
Yeah. What am I trying to say?
It's the opposite of what we're trying to do now.
Well, it is that. I think it's really interesting because what they are hesitant to turn over to the computer is even, I think, less advanced than an LLM. I honestly think that in a lot of ways, LLMs are backtracking from things like what they're trying to do here, because Geordi is programming this.
Yeah.
Like, he is giving the computer if-then commands for like how to get out of this, which is, I think, how like autopilot works for like airplanes and stuff. So like the problem being, a person could do this, but they're not fast enough. And so I can program a computer to do what a person would do just fast enough for this situation. I'm like, that is kind of actually what computers are for. Like, you're not as I kept being like, you're not really turning it over to the computer to like think creatively. You just are like doing the human part of programming the computer to do something at a speed that fingers can't do, because it's like even data couldn't do this. So it's literally just a physical limitation of input. So I actually like don't, I almost was like, this isn't even really like LLMs. This is really just like, this is a scenario where like if then clauses simply can't achieve the outcome that we need, because it implies a computer would never think of, okay, will slingshot off of this asteroid to get the momentum that we need to clear this field when inertia runs out or whatever.
Yeah, which like sort of makes sense. A sort of very old tenet of computers and computations IRL is that the sort of shorthand is like garbage in, garbage out, but sort of the idea is just that you're only gonna get back what you put into a computer to compute, you know? And even real world LLMs, as we all know, are having to be trained on a vast amount of data to even do what is basically copy paste, you know? And so it's not thinking, it's just regurgitating what's been put into it. And that's why there's this huge data grab to put as much, again, human created things into this to make it seem like a more advanced copy paste versus, or more advanced than just like a sort of copy paste situation, you know? To connect that to your point is that none of the humans on the ship have the data about how this is going to go to feed into the computer to really truly help them. It's like, this is a thing where you just have to use experience and guesswork and, you know, hunches to sort of take in the new data to figure out how to adjust, which is what we see when Picard, like, he's doing really well. And then it's just like, oh, we're being pulled into the gravitational pull of this giant piece of asteroid. And he like, and what I assume is actually maybe some historical knowledge is just uses that gravity to slingshot the Enterprise out of this whole field, you know, at the end, which I don't think that the computer, with the sort of even the vast knowledge that it has been put into the computer, could do that.
Right. Maybe if Geordi and Data had a year to like look at a simulation of the exact thing and, you know, account for all of that to be able to code it. But in the amount of time that they have, it's like, absolutely not. Of course. Of course not.
Yeah. They don't even have time to ask the computer a question to be like, does this even make sense? Like there just isn't the time to format the information for the computer to use, where like people, you know, as obviously our thought processes are slower than what even an advanced computer can do, but there's still something about the quickness of which you can make decisions as a person versus sort of like, you don't have to frame the question a certain kind of way to sort of intuit how to do what Picard is doing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that like Waymos are a very good example of that, where it's like, even with all of the programming that has gone into those, you can like short them out by just like putting two of them nose to nose and being like, you know, and it's like, that would never happen to a person because we can problem solve.
Oh my God. I went to a grocery store on Sunday, and when I was leaving, we were like, who is this person who's just, so like the parking lot was full and there was a car basically like in the middle of the road between all the parking spots. And we're just like, what is this person doing? That is such a ridiculous place to be pulling into. Especially because like it's a Sunday early afternoon, is the time people moving, going to their cars, whatever. And then it cruises past us and we're like, is no one in that car? And it's like a fucking Tesla like pulling up to the curb, which I don't fucking know how that works, but I'm like, oh yeah, of course you did the worst possible, rudest thing. Cause it's just like, you're programmed to go from this spot to this spot and hopefully not hit anyone, but not to be like, well, now you're blocking all these cars and blocking anyone behind you because it's just inputting the data and not reacting to what's happening, you know?
Right. Yep.
Fucking Teslas.
For real. Oh my God. Yeah. I really appreciate this episode. It's very different than I think a lot of sci-fi. And it's almost like they realized maybe the risks of having data in the show and having the ship's computer and being like, we need to like make it clear why there are still people in Starfleet. It's a much more subtle version of the lower decks badgie problem, you know? But by the time they were writing that episode, they realized that people couldn't deal with subtlety because all of the tech bros watched this episode and were like, let's do that actually. So, whatever.
So baffling. Especially because, like, I feel like people who are, like, conservative like this show, it's like, oh, I like the battles and the militaristic nature. And I'm like, do you watch this episode where Picard is, like, nerding out about archaeology and then doing this very delicate work that they're like, a computer can't do, you need an actual person? And you're just like, this has no bearing on reality at all. I'm just like, what?
It's wild. I just really wish that they could read. I think that would be great. And listeners, I'm using read in the broadest sense of process information, process media in a critical and thoughtful way, because no one read this episode correctly when they were interpreting their Star Trek and figuring out how to move forward in the world. Are we done with the LLM conversation? Okay. I really like the thing that we get, I think, semi-frequently in all of the Star Treks, where it's like, okay, if we're all going to die, that's my responsibility. And then the captain, like, takes over to be like, I really appreciate you offering to pilot the ship through this, Geordi. Like, I think that you would maybe be more qualified, but like, if everyone's going to die, that has to be at my hands. That's the job of the captain. And I am into it,
I feel like, again, on this point, I'm like, y'all looked at Jean-Luc Picard and weren't like, wow, this is the kind of guy that I want to be. It's just like, no, I just want to be in charge of people. And it's like, he is like, I would dream to have a boss like Jean-Luc Picard, to be perfectly like this. Like, he is so good at being a captain and being in charge. And also, I think a thing that I feel like people in power have a hard time dealing with, which is taking responsibility for things where it's like, if this is how things going to happen, I'm going to be the one making these decisions. It should not be, someone else who it isn't their job to take on the whole responsibility, however many hundreds of lives are on this ship. It should be me as the captain doing it and taking responsibility. If we fail, it is on me to have done so, What a guy.
I know. What an episode.
I know. Yeah, I was like maybe not expecting this episode because I wasn't sure going into it. I was happy to see more Geordi, getting more LeVar Burton flexing his acting chops. I love to see.
Yeah. The idea of anyone not being like, hell yeah, if Geordi LaForge was like, will you go on a date with me, is like truly baffling to me. I'm like,
immediately,
I would marry you in a second. Like, what do you mean, like, go on a date with you? Like,
I have noted what you're saying, but I don't actually care. Like, this is great. I will happily be in the throuple between you and Data. Perfect. Great.
Yep. Anyway, so I feel like when there's a thing that happens when I was posting more on Instagram, which I don't really do anymore, but whenever I would like post something positive about Geordi, people would be like, Geordi, why would you like say that? He's like so problematic. He's so creepy, whatever. And I think this kind of thing is a lot of what people are referring to with that, which I find a little bit confusing because I'm just like, he's just awkward. But also, like, I think that people think that he's like in some way like violating like Leah Brahms' autonomy or like personhood or something with this. But like, A of all, he didn't actually ask for there to be a physical manifestation of her. The computer just interpreted it that way. And B, when he does be like, can you put some personality in here? It's because he keeps turning around and she's just standing there like an animated corpse, just like staring at him. And I was like, this is so creepy. I too would be like, computer, do something else. Like, you need to change what this is, because like I'm getting jump scared every time I turn around.
And if we talk about the ship's computer and the holodeck being like LLM based, the fact that this holographic program starts flirting with him is probably because people probably come into the holodeck a lot to fuck holograms. Like, let's just be real. Like,
yeah.
You've seen how much porn's on the internet. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are like creating these avatars that are like they're having a romantic or sexual whatever with. So of course, maybe the ship is going to interpret that as like, oh, well, you are asking for this thing, more personality, but also that means compared to the other data, what everyone else is doing, flirting, you know?
Yeah. I feel like there has to be some sort of like racism going on with the fact that like Riker and Minuet, no one is thinking of as being like super gross and problematic, but like when Geordi does it, it is. And I'm like, part of it is that like this is a manifestation of like a real person. I get that's different, but at the same time, it's like kind of not. And the circumstances under which she was created are very specific and were not it's not the Buffy bot. You know, He didn't go in there and be like, make a creation of this person I have a crush on so that I can have a weird relationship with her. Like, all of this was happenstance. And honestly, the flirting was almost initiated by Leah Brahms. Again, because of what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense that the holodeck is just like, well, this is why Riker comes in here. This is why everybody comes in here. Like,
right.
This must be what we're doing today.
Yeah. Even Troy's mom came in here for that, even though she didn't realize that's what she was going for. And so, yeah. I actually find this this is not as creepy as what Barclay did with people that are literally on the shit that he knows. Which is like, that is much weirder to me, especially because I'm an old millennial. I mean, how much porn was people just like photoshopping celebrities' faces on naked women's bodies? Like, it's not like it is. I'm not trying to say it's not creepy, but this isn't
new. It's not new.
This isn't new. This isn't unique to Geordi. So I do feel like there is a racial aspect, especially because this is, listeners, if you not watched the episode, Dr. Leah is played by a white actress. And so I feel like white people are often very much like primed to be like, oh, this like black dude is creepy to this white woman, because that's what so much of American racism and gender and racial norms are built on. Right. Honestly. Yeah. And like he was definitely having like an intellectual connection, because that's kind of what he vibes with. And like, yeah, this definitely seems like more like the computer presenting him with this sort of flirtation that like he did not ask for this. Like, no in the episode he like, have this like sexy scientist be flirting with me, you know? Right. So yeah, I mean, I think are many other problematic people in the next generation you could be annoyed by, but I'm like, Geordi LaForge, never. Sorry. Like, agreed. Agreed. Just disbelief. You will never make me hate him. So
no, I mean, if he does do something genuinely problematic, obviously we will talk about it. But like, this is not that. That's not what's happening here.
Yeah, and nothing about how this episode plays out makes me assume he's gonna like go back and like fuck that hologram, you know? Right. Like I think he's sort of like, I'm good. I can just, I don't need the computers all the time. And I think that's sort of the point of this episode, but clearly a sign that he's not going to go like hang out with her and like,
I mean, he ends the program the minute that she kisses him. Like, you know, he looping back to the LLM thing. Like, there are people right now who are in full on what they consider to be real relationships with large language models that they can't even see and touch. Like, yeah. And he has the wherewithal, which I think would be harder if there was actually like something you could look at and physically interact with to be like, this is not real. Like, this is the computer, and like, this was nice and unexpected, but like, end program, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as someone who sometimes gets upset throwing things away, I'm like, yeah, a holodeck program would be like, no, this is my boyfriend, obviously. Like, what are you talking? Like, it would be game over from like, I can see you and feel you, and you're like in front of me and we're interacting. I'm like,
I don't think that's true about you personally.
I don't know. I think maybe if I was in a worse place emotionally, it would be.
Maybe.
So if I was awkward and single like Jordy, then it might be more a little bit more like Janeway and her holographic boyfriend.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh.
Welcome to Engineering, where we talk about science and history and research and stuff.
So this is very nitpicky even for me. So this episode is called Booby Trap because I fall into a booby trap, which is sort of a catch-all term for any kind of trap where you're trying to trap and like potentially kill something, you know?
Sure.
Because when I was watching the episode, I'm like, this is actually more like a very advanced snare, which listeners, if you're familiar with like kind of like the finger trap, so you put your fingers in and the more you pull, the tighter it gets. That's kind of how snares work, where if you get caught in a snare and the more you try to pull away from the snare, the tighter it gets. And so kind of like in this episode, this doesn't work for animals for kind of obvious reasons. But if you were to kind of relax and not try to move away from the snare, it could loosen enough for you to get out, which is essentially basically what happens here. So I don't know. I guess it could be like it's a snare. You could just say that, but I guess booby trap was more fun to say. So
I think maybe it's almost like it's a booby trap for Picard, because doesn't booby trap kind of imply like snares are often baited too, but
yeah, any kind of trap you're gonna bait, or else, I mean, not all of them.
Well,
You
is
can
a booby trap like more like when you make a pit in the path and you cover it with leaves and then you fall in? So like there is actually no bait involved in that. I don't know the semantic difference, honestly, but
yeah, this is obviously like, yeah, the most baitiest bait for Captain Picard specifically.
Yep.
My second thing is, I'm pretty sure this like slingshot maneuver thing is what saved Apollo 13, which is the spacecraft that they had a bunch of technical malfunction, and they're like, how are we gonna get these bad guys back to Earth? And I'm pretty sure they like end up changing the trajectory to go around the moon to give them enough to use the gravity of the moon to kind of slingshot them back to Earth. There's obviously a lot more math involved and a lot of like, hope you guys don't drink too much water because we don't have enough to have you guys up there. So it's interesting to me that this is basically what Picard does, which I'm like, obviously we know Picard also is into some history. I'm like, did you know that? Or is this just sort of like a common, I don't know. I was like, there's some precedence to what he is doing. Even though the size of that asteroid would not be large enough to propel a ship the size of the Enterprise. But whatever, it's fine. It's too small, is what I'm trying. The asteroid is too small.
Yeah, well, they already have the inertia going, so I feel like it's just like they just need like a tiny kick, you know.
Yeah.
All right, we did it.
We did it.
Okay, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We'll be back in a couple weeks with the next one.
Yeah, check the show notes for all of the information about our other shows and how you can support us. Please support us. Also, share this video with your friends.
Yeah, this video might just be audio on top of our logo, depending, because I don't think I have it in me to keep editing video until we have the money to pay someone else to edit the video. So
fair.
We will see. Yeah, if you want more of me in between episodes, you can look at my art on my website, melancholymalarkey.com, or follow me on Instagram at melancholymalarkey, but like not really, because I'm mostly broken up with Instagram at this point. So
yeah, I feel the best places to find me is like on our Discord, and here I have also kind of given up on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you could follow me on TikTok at Jesse the Unicorn, where I occasionally post TikTok videos. Anyway, just come here to know what I'm doing. So, or join our Patreon if you want to read my newsletter and know what I'm also doing.
All right. This show and all of our shows are produced, mixed, and edited by me. Jesse is the co-creative director and the Riker Data combo to my Picard. And Elise is our tedious taskmaster who takes care of many of the most tedious parts of making a podcast.
Thanks, Elise.
Yeah. And until next time.
To the beam up.